She built her dealership from nothing. A black woman who turned years of doors slammed in her face into a multi-million-dollar empire. But one morning, she walked in disguised as an ordinary customer. No makeup, no designer suit, just a hoodie and a hidden camera. Within minutes, she heard the words no owner should ever hear. Words dripping with the same poison she thought she'd escaped when she got rich. Words aimed at people who looked like her. She stood there, silent, watching her own employees destroy everything she'd fought for. How far would they go before she revealed who she really was? And how many would still have a job by the end of the day? Stay until the end. You won't believe what she did next. Her name is Aisha Carter, 38 years old, owner of Carter Luxury Motors on the edge of Atlanta. 10 years ago she was selling cars on someone else's lot, smiled at, talked over, paid half what the white guys made. She took every no, every smirk, every quiet assumption that she didn't belong, and turned it into fuel. Today her dealership moves 200 cars a month, employs 42 people, and sits on land she bought outright. On paper, she'd won. Most mornings she pulls up in her white G-Wagon, heels clicking across the showroom floor, greeted with good morning, Miss Carter. She built a culture she was proud of, or so she thought. Lately though, online reviews had started stinging. Customers saying they felt judged the second they walked in, sales numbers dipping in the afternoons, little cracks she couldn't quite see from her corner office. So one Tuesday she left the G-Wagon at home. No makeup, hair in a low bun, simple jeans, hoodie, and a baseball cap pulled low. A tiny camera hidden in the frame of her glasses. She told no one, not her managers, not her best friend, not even her husband. She parked 3 blocks away and walked in just like any other customer browsing for a used Benz. She had no idea that the next 3 hours would rip the mask off everything she thought she'd overcome. What she was about to hear wasn't just bad customer service. It was the same venom she'd fought her whole life, now coming from the people on her own payroll, and it was aimed at anyone who looked like her. Aisha stepped through the automatic doors and the air conditioning hit her face like cold water. The showroom smelled of lemon polish and new leather, exactly the way she demanded it. She kept her shoulders rounded, hands in her hoodie pocket, eyes scanning the floor like any hesitant buyer. The first salesman, Tyler, mid-20s, slick hair, didn't even look up from his phone until she was 3 feet away. Then he did a slow, obvious sweep. Hoodie, no jewelry, brown skin, his smile flatlined. "Can I help you with something?" The tone said security, not sales. She mumbled that she was just looking. He nodded like that was the answer he expected and turned back to his screen. Aisha drifted toward the row of certified pre-owned sedans. A black couple in their 50s entered behind her, dressed like they were headed to church. He in a crisp shirt, she in a modest dress and pearls. Tyler didn't move. Neither did anyone else. Instead, a voice from the back carried across the showroom, loud enough for everyone to hear, double quotes, "Yo, let 'em browse. They're probably just trying to see how the other half lives." Laughter rippled from the service desk. 4 employees, all white, leaning against the counter like they owned the place. One of them, a senior salesman named Brian, the guy Aisha personally promoted last year, added, "Clock's ticking. 10 minutes and they'll be asking for the bus schedule." Aisha's pulse hammered in her ears, but she kept her head down and moved deeper into the showroom, pretending to study window stickers. The black couple approached a silver E. The wife ran her hand along the fender, smiling. Her husband peered inside. Brian finally walked over. No handshake, no welcome, just a bored sigh. "This one's 38.9. You'd need at least 80 grand income to even get looked at. You got pay stubs on you." The husband stiffened. "We're proved." Brian smirked. "Sure you are." Aisha felt heat crawling up her neck. She forced herself to keep filming. Minutes later, a white woman in yoga pants walked in alone. Within 30 seconds, 2 salesmen practically sprinted over. Big smiles, bottled waters, offers to pull the exact same E-Class around for a test drive. No questions asked. The contrast was so blatant it felt staged. Aisha's legs carried her toward the service lane next. She wanted to see how deep it went. There, a young black man in a work uniform waited with an older Mercedes he clearly babied. The service advisor, Derek, barely glanced at the car before quoting triple the real price for brakes. When the customer pushed back, Derek shrugged. "Look man, we don't do charity work here. You want cheap, try the shop on the west side. They speak your language over there." "Your language?" Aisha's hand trembled on the hidden camera. She circled back to the showroom floor. Another incident unfolded in slow motion. A black mother with 2 teenagers asked about a safe family SUV. The salesman steered them toward the cheapest. highest mileage Kia on the lot, even though they were standing right next to a loaded 3-row BMW that matched their budget perfectly. When the mother pointed at the BMW, he laughed. Those are for people who actually close. The mother's face fell. Her kids saw it. They all walked out without another word. Aisha counted in her head 6 separate customers, all black or brown, all treated like they were wasting oxygen. In under 2 hours, she felt the old rage boiling up. The same rage that used to keep her awake when banks wouldn't lend to her, when suppliers quoted her double, when customers asked to speak to the real owner. But this was worse. These weren't strangers. These were her people, her payroll, her name on their checks, and they were doing to others exactly what had once been done to her. She stood frozen near the coffee station, watching Brian high-five Derek over some joke she didn't want to hear. Her finger hovered over the stop button on the hidden recorder, because the next thing she did would either save her company or destroy it, and half the staff still had no idea the woman in the hoodie had the power to end their careers before lunch. Keep watching. You're about to see the exact moment she took the mask off. Aisha couldn't breathe anymore. The showroom felt like it was shrinking, the fluorescent lights too bright, the laughter too loud. She walked straight to the center aisle, reached up, and pulled the hoodie down. Every head turned. Tyler's phone slipped from his hand and clattered on the tile. Brian's smirk died mid. Derek actually took a step back, like he'd seen a ghost. For 3 full seconds, nobody spoke. Then Aisha's voice cut through the silence, low and shaking with fury. Meeting room, all of you now. She didn't wait. She marched to the glass-walled conference room in full view of the remaining customers and hit the intercom so the entire building could hear. This is Aisha Carter, the owner. Everyone on the floor right now. Conference room, sales, service, management. If you're on my payroll, you have 60 seconds. Feet scrambled. Chairs scraped. Someone dropped a clipboard. 29 employees crammed inside, some still grinning nervously, thinking it was a surprise morale event. Most already pale, Aisha stood at the head of the table. She lifted the remote, pressed play, and the massive screen behind her lit up with the hidden camera footage. She'd been recording for the last 3 hours. The room heard their own voices. Clock's ticking. 10 minutes and they'll be asking for the bus schedule. They speak your language on the west side. Those cars are for people who actually close. Every slur, every sneer, every laugh, crystal clear and time-stamped. Faces collapsed. A few people started crying. Brian tried to speak. Aisha raised one finger and he shut up. When the footage ended, the silence was suffocating. Then she spoke, slow and deliberate. I built this place with my own hands so no one would ever feel small walking through these doors again, especially not people who look like me. You just proved I failed. Or you did. She slid a stack of envelopes across the table. 18 of you are done. Effective right now. Security will walk you out. The rest of you are on 30-day probation. One more word, one more look, one more review like the ones I've been reading, and you join them. Someone sobbed. Someone else whispered, I have kids. Aisha didn't blink. She saved Brian for last. You, she said, voice cracking for the first time. I gave you your first big sale. I stood up for you when corporate said you were too young, and you stood here today calling my people trash. Brian couldn't even meet her eyes. Aisha leaned in, close enough for only him to hear. Get out of my building. She turned back to the room, chest heaving, tears burning but never falling. Half the staff gone in under 10 minutes. The cameras were still rolling, and outside those glass walls, every remaining customer, black, white, brown, had just watched justice happen in real time. But the story wasn't over, because now Aisha had to figure out if a company this poisoned could ever be saved, or if burning it down and starting over was the only way left. Keep watching. What she did next shocked even me. The showroom was almost empty now. Just the echo of doors closing behind the 18 people who would never walk back in. Aisha stood alone between the rows of gleaming cars. Lights still bright, but the air felt different. Heavier. Let the tears come. Not for the employees she'd just fired, but for the little girl who used to ride the bus past dealerships like Thee. She didn't celebrate. She sat on the edge of a display platform and finally let the tears come. Not for the employees she'd just fired, but for the little girl who used to ride the bus past dealerships like this one, pressing her face to the window, promising herself one day she'd own the whole building so nobody could ever make her feel small again. That little girl had just learned the building wasn't enough. Within hours, the footage leaked, not by Aisha, but by one of the customers who had watched it all unfold live. By morning, it was everywhere. News stations, TikTok, Twitter. Black CEO fires racist staff on the spot. Some channels called her a hero. Others called her ruthless. Death threats rolled in. So did marriage proposals. Her DM is filled with stories from strangers. The same thing happened to me at a dealership in Miami. In Dallas, in Chicago, Aisha didn't go viral for clout. She went quiet for 3 days, then came back with a plan. But only after every remaining employee finished a 30-day paid suspension and mandatory bias training run by black owners. Not some corporate slideshow. She promoted 3 of the younger black porters and lot techs into sales roles they'd quietly been blocked from for years. She installed cameras in plain sight now, no more hiding, and posted a new sign by the front door. Discrimination of any kind will be met with immediate termination. This is not a warning, it is a promise. Sales actually went up. Black customers who had sworn they'd never return started coming back. Word spread that Carter Luxury Motors was the one dealership where you would be treated like money. Period. But Aisha knows the truth. One viral firing didn't fix America. It didn't fix the banks that still approve black applicants at half the rate. It didn't fix the car lots 5 miles away, still doing exactly what her old staff did that day. It didn't even fix every heart in her own building. What it did was prove something simple and brutal. Power can protect, but only if the person holding it is willing to use it, no matter how much it hurts. So here's the question I want you to sit with. When you finally get the keys to the kingdom you were told you'd never touch, will you open the gate wider or just lock it behind you? Aisha chose to break the lock. Now it's your turn. If this story made you angry, made you cry, or made you think twice about the places you spend your money, do something with that feeling. Share this video. Call out the quiet racism you see this week. Support a black-owned business today. Because change doesn't start with one CEO in Atlanta, it starts with every single one of us refusing to look away. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next story.